Just noticed?
Let the record reflect we reconvene with all members present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can I have a motion for the executive minutes of July 10th, 2017?
I'll move them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion for the regular minutes of July 10th, 2017.
Move them.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, or changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome all. I think this is a record turnout for a July meeting, so thank you for coming out tonight. A couple of things and greetings, and I have a proclamation to present, and we'll get on to the agenda. As many people may be here to see the presentation of the petition, that under communications and petitions, they will be announcing the acceptance of the petition related to the movie theater. At that time, it's not typical, but since there's such strong interest and passion for this, that the two leaders who have been working so hard on this petition, past Mayor Woody Kirkeslager and Sandy Kalikowski, will come up and share a few words about their thoughts behind the petition. And then you'll hear some clarification on next steps. On other things related to life in Madison, got an email today from New Jersey Transit to assist commuters while Amtrak completes repairs at Penn Station. Effective Monday the 31st, a week from today, New Jersey Transit will initiate express bus service from the Madison Station to Port Authority Bus Terminal. The trips will operate every 30 minutes from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And they just wanted to inform everyone of this new temporary service. This is to get us through the rest of the summer. And they will be getting communications out through their social media and their website, njtransit.com, and there'll be postings at the train station. Once they share that information, we will also get it out through our social media. Last weekend was Community Garden Weekend in Morris County, where several community gardens were recognized for what they've been doing, and Madison was a part of that tour. I stopped by there, and I know many of the other council members also did, and many residents. But if you didn't get a chance to visit and you have not seen the community garden, please do so. It's a very impressive site, and it's worth the tour, not only to see what our many residents are growing. A friend of mine mentioned they've been having great salads. He hasn't bought a head of lettuce at a store all summer. But to see the work by the committee and volunteers with the hoop gardens, the pollination gardens, the beehives, it is a very impressive site, so please stop by to visit. And somewhat related, we're going to come down to do a presentation on a long-running program in Madison. Kathy and Paul, please come forward. So this is a great honor for many, many reasons. One, two longtime friends of mine right here. And number two, in my other life, I know a bit about running programs. And in a life cycle of a program, 10 years is pretty good. 20 years is something to shout about. 40 years, all of Madison needs to know about it. And so we are recognizing the 40th anniversary of the Madison Nature Nuts program. So whereas the Madison Nature Nuts is a summer program sponsored by the Madison Recreation Department and the Madison Parks Advisory Committee, which was founded in 1977, and whereas Memorial Park, located on Rosedale Avenue, is used to learn about nature and how important it is to be good stewards of the environment, and whereas this 5-week summer program was developed with the encouragement of dedicated longtime Madison resident Kathy Coltis and Florence Zook, a botany professor at Drew University, both members of the Memorial Park Committee, now known as the Parks Advisory Committee. And whereas Nature Nuts is designed for Madison children in 1st through 6th grades, with approximately 40 children having participated each year in the program, and whereas there is a nature-related theme each week with games, crafts, presentations, and a field trip to support the focus of the week. And whereas, first directed by a Drew University student, the program has seen directors from all walks of life, including teachers and nuns, and today is staffed by a longtime participant and 3 Borough interns. And whereas Kathy Coltis, who has overseen Nature Nuts program from its inception, and Paul Alaco, current Parks Advisory Committee chair, devotedly continue to run the program 40 years later. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Conley, on behalf of the governing body, hereby recognize and congratulate Madison Nature Nuts for providing 40 years of summer fun for the youth of Madison. Congratulations.
I'm really very proud of the program that we started so many years ago. Florence Zook was kind of a mentor of mine from Drew University. And she loved children, loved teaching, and she had this passion for teaching young people about the environment. So I'm so pleased that this program has gone on for 40 years. And I attribute it, she had the idea in the first place, and we just carried it through. So she was a great one, great mentor.
Kathy deserves a lot of credit for all of the years and work that she's put in, and it is always a pleasure to be working with her, and I've learned an awful lot with working with her.
Thank you so much for your dedication. I think one thing I did forget to mention during my comments about the theater, the process will be we'll certainly shortly have our reports from committees. We'll have the communications petitions, which our 2 presenters will speak. For others here that want to comment on that, that will come after we have our ordinances for hearing, which will not be too late in the meeting because we have a fairly light agenda. So if others that want to comment, that'll be at that time, not immediately after the presentation. So with that in mind, can we get to reports from committees? Public Works and Engineering, Ms. Vitale.
Thank you, Mayor. Cefelli & Son Contracting continues work on the 2017 road improvements. So curb, sidewalks, and drainage improvements will be completed on Gibbons and Lathrop. Similar work will be initiated on Howell and Locust later this week. There was a restriping of the Kings Road Lot 3 was completed as part of the mill and overlay program, and that was completed this past week. Stavoli Contracting is expected to complete the mill and overlay for Prospect Place, Fairwoods, Redmond, Oxford, Lorraine, West End, Maple Avenue, Kings Road, Britton Street, and Dean Street this August. So there's going to be lots of detours, so watch for them. Another great thing that was completed this week was the Well E transformer, which is very important. Secondary wiring was completed by the electric department, so that means that the utility side transformer replacement project is absolutely complete. There were also all the bid documents for the Central Avenue water replacement project will be completed this week and delivered to Morris County Road
opening review in the next 2 weeks. There's a new pump station is scheduled down at Return to Automated Operations, and that's the North Street pump station that has been under construction and in very, very bad need of replacement. So that's going to be before the end of August that's done. As far as Madison Recreation Complex, the press box delivery and assembly will be there in the next 2 weeks. If you haven't gotten a chance, go up and take a look at the really good job that those people did. And New Jersey DOT roadway improvement grant agreement for Greenwood Avenue in the amount of $245,000 was executed and returned to the state. Morris County Historic Preservation Grant for Hartley Dodge Memorial site work was awarded in the amount of $265,250. So we're very excited about getting the front of this building completed. A Green Acres Planning Incentive Grant was also awarded to Madison in the amount of $500,000. Grant applications for both safe routes to transit and bikeway improvements was denied by the NJDOT. But we're certain that we can make improvements that are highlighted in the applications that are going to be discussed in the phased implementation. So from DPW, their motor repair shop is continually busy. They take care of most of the vehicles that are in this town. So they've been repairing police vehicles as well as all of the equipment that they need to cut and mow and whatever. They actually worked on the rescue truck and got that going again. And the Board of Health Ford Focus, which was just bought, but is still under warranty. Parks Department has been really busy because of the excessive heat. They've been watering the flower baskets daily due to that excessive heat. They've been performing general maintenance and lined recreation fields for appropriate games because we have games still going on, and we have the women playing their softball games as well. They've been actually doing some storm damage cleanup as well. The Roads Department has been busy. They've been installing various street signs. They paved water and sewer ditches. They removed 7 tree stumps and topsoiled seeded areas. They're filling potholes. And every Friday, they pick up the white goods. So now the Sewer Department they completed sewer cleaning of all the trouble spots in Madison, repaired collapsed storm and catch basins, daily station operations and maintenance, daily communication with contractor at the North Street lift station project, and they began Fairwoods Railway storm fallout maintenance. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public Safety, Mr. Landrigan.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Fire Department. The Fire Department has recently taken delivery of thermal imaging cameras that are integrated into their face masks. They were purchased as part of this year's capital improvement program. They have been installed and training is in progress. On behalf of the members of the Madison Fire Department, Chief DeRosa would like to thank the Mayor and Council for this purchase that helps each firefighter to see through smoke when they enter a burning building. These also increase the level of safety for firefighters when they are working inside a smoke-filled environment. The Fire Department's 3 engines had their annual pump testing conducted by a third-party agency. All 3 passed. There were some minor items noted, and they have been repaired. And finally, from the Police Department, as many of you may have read, there was recently an armed robbery that took place in the alleyway off of 93 Main Street. The Madison Police Department is actively investigating it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Finance Borough Clerk, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. From the tax collector, the tax rate has been confirmed by the county this past week. The tax bills were printed today and will be mailed Wednesday, July 26. The grace period for payment has been extended to August 21st, 2017. As per state statute, all third quarter tax payments received after August 21st will be subject to interest, and that interest must be calculated back to August 1st. As previously reported, residents that will be away in late July and early August have 2 options. They can pay their property taxes online anytime, from anywhere, by logging on to rosenet.org and clicking online bills. And make sure you have your bank account and routing number as well as your property's block and lot number. If that option doesn't work for you, you can call the tax collector at 973-593-3056 during regular hours to find out the amount of your third quarter bill. Thank you for your patience and understanding in this. From the Finance Department, included in your tax bill will be a small version of the annual budget summary, which is displayed right behind me. This document explains the municipal budget in very simple terms. An important note for this year is the council voted to approve a $1.5 million electric utility dividend, which is now being distributed to all the customers of the residents of Madison. The dividend will automatically appear on your bill from May 2017 to April 2018. The credit for residential customers is about 7.5% of your kilowatt consumption. Other facts about the Bureau budget. Did you know that the municipal portion of your tax bill is just 22.5% of the total bill? You can see it in the pie chart. And did you know the borough maintains 50 miles of town roads, 500 fire hydrants, 1,200 street lights, 300 acres of parks and fields, and over 50 properties? Another impressive fact is that the borough pumps and distributes over 3 million gallons of water on a hot summer day. I found those facts amazing. From the CFO, we have a bond payment August 1st of approximately $120,000 that we will be paying to the Environmental and Infrastructure Trust. The borough borrows money along with Chatham to fund capital improvements at the joint meeting sewage plant. A portion of this loan is at 0% interest. That's a good deal. This $120,000 payment is part of the debt service line that is reflected in the annual budget summary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Utilities, Mr. Wolkowitz.
Thank you, Mayor. Our smart meter project's moving right along in both the electric and water departments. In the electric department, they've been installing smart meters, and in the water department, they've been installing the radio transmitters for remote water meter reading. I had the opportunity a week ago to see what these things look like and how they work. It's probably the polar opposite of the way we've been doing it. It's as if we've gone ahead 100 years. So it's quite impressive, and we're moving right along. As far as the electric department, they continued installation of poles and cable on Kings Road and Division Avenue for the new housing development on that corner. They also completed a pole transfer at Cook Avenue and Community Place and installed down wires and a anchor. And as well, they continue, as they do every time I report, to have street light repairs, service upgrades, and mark-out requests. As for the water department, they had 13 meter installations, and I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, also radio transmitters and outside registers were installed, all part of this project. Excuse me. In addition, they installed an exhaust fan at Well B. They aided contractors after they hit service lines at Gibbons Place and Madison High School, which I thought was pretty generous. And we also had a water loss at Madison Commons, which turned out to be due to a main break, which they obviously repaired. Thank you.
Thank you. And Health, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, the Health Department continues to work on ordinances for control of invasive plants and also feral cats. They expect to have a discussion of these ordinances at their August meeting, which is going to be held on Tuesday, August 15th at the Civic Center. They're also working on quality improvement plan within the department. They also want to report that Massa was a recipient of a $1,000 Rotary grant. And the Health Department Tobacco Cessation Awareness Collaboration with Massa and Madison Chatham Coalition is in its final stages of planning for the farmers market, which is going to be held on August 17th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Community Affairs, Ms. Byrne.
So the farmers market continues to draw people downtown, as well as the downtown concert series, which will be on this Friday night in front of the Museum of Early Trades, and it will be group therapy. So pray for good weather and come on down. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for those that are standing or on the sides, we have opened up the luxury boxes along the side here, so feel free to come up and grab one of these seats if you want. Communications and petitions.
Yes, Mayor. The council received an email from Ms. Egan Carteret Court regarding bamboo ordinance, a letter from resident Bob Jennings of Albright Circle regarding vacant space at the Hartley Dodge Memorial, and today we received the petitions from approximately 1,200 signatures regarding the movie theater.
Right, and related to the petition, as Mayor Woody and Sandy, please, you can share your statements related to the petition.
Okay, Liz, I didn't know if anybody was going to read the petition. I'm not going to take my time to do that now. I think you've all seen it online. I just wanted to mention that when the theater closed, friends and neighbors I spoke with all said how sad they were. It struck me as even sadder the resignation about an outcome that shocked so many, that the theater would be bought by anyone for a purpose other than a theater. Many said it's too late to save the theater. I felt that I had to try and that I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. I was given 3 good suggestions. Act quickly, see if you can get the borough to buy it, and call Woody Kirkeslager. Mayor Kirkeslager and I met at the Nautilus just over 2 weeks ago. We agreed that we would quickly draw up a petition to see how many residents would support saving the theater to operate as a not-for-profit movie, arts, and cultural center, and asking the mayor and council to provide interim funding for that purpose. The response has been significant. We now, tonight, have well over 1,500 signatures. Nearly 300 comments describing how the movie theater is an essential part of the best of Madison, a place where you can go as a family or feel comfortable letting your kids go with their friends. The importance of the theater was equally shared by people like me who remember going there when it was a single screen, to people who have moved here recently and said the theater was a factor in their decision to pick Madison as a place to raise their family. Comments like Sue Claire Harper, who wrote, "During my 40-plus years of living in Madison, I experienced the joy of walking to this historic icon to enjoy the movies on more occasions than I could possibly count. It would be a community tragedy to lose this building." Or Megan Brodberg, who wrote, "Our family loves Madison's movie theater. Please protect it for our town's economy, its charm, our children, and for the historic feel of our beautiful town." Or Peggy Thompson, who wrote, "Please bring it back. It's my special place to take my 7 grandchildren." Or David Hanna, who wrote, "The movie theater on Lincoln Place is an integral part of our downtown. Madison is an attractive place to live, largely because of its historic, vibrant, and walkable downtown." Or Tracy Blackwell, who said, "I saw my first movie here as a child, Cinderella, when my aunt worked there. This is where my daughters saw their first movies." Or Deborah Bampton, who said, "We love the Madison Theater. We always felt comfortable letting our 14-year-old go to the theater with her friends, stopping next door at Romanelli's for pizza, and heading to McCool's for ice cream. Losing that opportunity is really sad." There are many wonderful comments. I encourage you to read them all. They're online. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to give a heartfelt thank you to everybody who pulled together over less than 2 weeks to get 1,500 signatures, and the people who came out tonight in support of the petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy, for your passion and work on this. Mayor Woody.
Thank you, Mayor. I've tried to organize my comments in a series of bullet points. I'll try to be very brief. Mayor and Council, as you sit here tonight, Madison has a problem, and it is in your lap. It's not your fault. This has developed fairly quickly. We initiated this petition to gauge the public's reaction to closing the movie theater and to one of the potential solutions to avoid permanent loss. As Sandy said, as I wrote these comments this morning, over 1,000 petitions were signed. As of tonight, it's over 1,500. Pretty soon, every voter in town will have voted on this issue. The theater has an impact on their families. The theater has an impact on the downtown business district. It's the key, it's the heart of the downtown business district. Talk to many of the merchants and they say, we do believe that the theater brings business to our stores. Several of the businesses that I frequent almost daily, like the Nautilus Diner, say we can tell when the movie's over, people stream down and stop in. We know that other towns have gone through this. We lose a movie theater, there is an uproar, and then there's an attempt to get it back. It's usually, not always, too late, but when it is, you sometimes find out it's not too late because people change their mind, situations change, and we find the support we need to get the theater back up and running. We know that other towns have gone through this, and we know their successes and we know their failures. We have learned there are good models and there are bad models for running a movie theater. We know them and we can use that and we will use that as we move forward. There is more to our proposal. This is the first proposal that we put out, and things can be flexibly changed. We propose also to have this as an office for the nonprofits of Madison to share this office services that they do not have. We have over 100 nonprofits in Madison. Almost all of them are run in the method of the Madison Arts and Culture Alliance. MACA, as we call it, has been in business since 2004, took a decade off there. And all of the meetings we have a meeting every week. Where do we have the meeting? The Nautilus Diner. Almost every nonprofit, small nonprofit like that, either meets in a restaurant, meets in a home, meets in some place which is not totally useful for running business of even a small nonprofit. So we look to share space, office space, copy space, internet access, meeting rooms with the nonprofits of the town. There are elements of success. The one key element, the first key element, is the local government. If the local government is not a part of it, is not supportive, it will not succeed. That's why this is such an important issue and why it's on your lap. The other elements include volunteers, nonprofits, corporate and business support, foundations, individual donors, angels. Madison is as good as any town in New Jersey on those dimensions. And we certainly have one of the finest governments in town. We can do this if we work for it and we work work together. So my comments, thank you. Thank you for listening. And we hope to have a dialogue with you.
Thank you, Woody. So what we'll do now is, because we're not going to get a response from the council tonight, I want our attorney to explain some of the challenges we have related to that, and then Jim Burnett will bring you up to date with where we are right now, with just some little history and stories behind what's going on.
So the council's silence isn't mean to be rude or disrespectful. They understand that this is a passionate issue. I, this evening, gave them advice, and I'm going to tell you what I advised them. I advised them not to make any comments on it, and the reason for this is twofold. If this property, which is owned by a third party, goes before the planning board or the zoning board, it's very important that these members of the governing body don't in any way infect that process. Two of the members of the governing body sit on the planning board. So if there's an application before the planning board, they have to be able to hear it and adjudge an application free of any type of influence or tipping their hand on how they feel about something. Second, in the zoning board world, and there's two boards in the town, there's a planning board and a zoning board. If an applicant goes and they require variances, which means what we're proposing to build or do on a certain site doesn't comply with the zoning laws of Madison, they have to go before the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Any variance that is granted by the Zoning Board of Adjustment, any opposer under New Jersey municipal land use law has the right to come back before this entire governing body for a hearing. And so I'm advising the governing body to not make substantive comments on any pending application, future application, etc., because I want to ensure that they have the right to hear if it's a zoning board application, if it comes up to them ultimately, so they can be free of being charged with being arbitrary and capricious, or for the planning board members who sit in the planning board for making substantive comments. So again, it's not to be disrespectful. I've given the advice that they should not comment substantively on any application or pending application, and that's why I've asked them not to speak, but we're going to have Mr. Burnett give everybody a little history of what's gone on to date so that we can dispel any types of rumors out there.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. It's not very long. I think everybody knows that the building was for sale many months, including a front page article in the local paper. During that time, Ray, Cody, and I did talk to the prior building owner with Bowtie Cinema, with potential buyers to encourage a sale that would keep the theater in operation. The building, unfortunately, is now sold, and Bowtie, the theater operator, has left. They left with 24 hours notice, which was permitted within their lease. Bowtie had negotiated a lower month-to-month lease with the previous owner in an attempt to keep them in operation. That lease was honored by the new owners, but despite this, Bowtie gave one-day notice and ceased operations on May 30th. No application has been submitted at all. Until an application is submitted, we don't really know what the intentions of the owners are. To clarify a possible misunderstanding, there was a demolition permit that was pulled by previous owners. That's not a demolition permit to tear down the building. That was purely a permit that was requested by the previous owners to remove an existing oil tank, something that had to be done to complete the sale. Thank you.
Thank you. And obviously, you won't hear comments from the mayor and council right now, but that's not to say we're not going to do anything, because it's very important and we hear the passion. I've instructed Jim Burnett. Ray Cody is on vacation this week, so next week Jim and Ray will reach out to Sandy and Woody to arrange a meeting to hear your ideas and to give some guidance as to what can be done and what can't be done. And then we'll keep the dialogue going from there. Thank you. And again, for those that want to comment, that'll be coming up shortly, and we have a lot of new faces here, so I'll explain how that process will work. Thank you again for all your work and for those that came out. All right, we are to the first invitations for discussion. This is not the open one. This is limited to agenda items. The theater was not an agenda item, so we just have to wait a few minutes for that. But what you can comment on is the ordinance rescinding the 2-hour parking ban on Union Avenue and an ordinance amending zoning regulations in the Central Business District, or you may comment on any of the resolutions that are listed on the consent agenda. If you wish to comment on any of those, you step up to the lectern, state your name, your address, and state the agenda item you are commenting on, and then keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we move on to agenda discussions and ordinance rescinding the 2-hour parking on Union Avenue. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor. There used to be a business operating near Union Avenue that used to place cars in that area, and for relief of the residents, the ordinance for parking was changed to 2-hour parking limit. That's since been rectified, and the residents have asked if that parking ordinance could be changed back to 4 hours. Administration talked with the police department. The police department agreed with this, so we're advancing a simple amendment to that ordinance to have the hours of parking on Union Avenue changed back to 4 hours.
And basically changing back happens because we'll rescind this one and it'll fall under the 4-hour townwide. Questions or discussions?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I received an email from one of the residents that kind of opened up this whole discussion. And I just have to commend Joe Longo and Vinny for going down there. They knocked on every single door and asked them how they felt about this, and so it was a good consensus. That and it takes a lot of work to do something like this. So I have to commend them that they actually spoke to every single person in that area, and and clarified what was going on. So I'd like to say congratulations to them. Well done job again.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, this is Ordinance 32 that is listed for introduction. Okay, second item is Ordinance amending zoning regulations Central Business District. Austri?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. What you have before you is our recommended amendments to zoning sections 195-20B2 and 195-32-4F of the Borough Code for Central Business Districts 1 and 2. The changes are in boldface in copy. Okay. So how this came about, the Planning Board has been working on the master plan, and then the downtown study commenced, and many of our thoughts that were regarding the Central Business District 1 and 2 were reflected in the downtown study. And so what you see before you are some of the amendments. It's to simplify the process for a new business in the Central Business District. And tonight's discussion, and we'll introduce the ordinance, the amendments to the zoning August 14th. Then it goes back to the Planning Board, and then comes back to you for final approval. So the question is, do you have any questions?
And this is also kind of one of the to-do items that came out of the downtown revitalization.
Yeah, that's what I...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did say that, Mayor.
I apologize.
Maybe I didn't say it clearly.
Sometimes I get multitasking here and I lose track. So.
No.
But it was something very important to reinforce.
Yes, thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments? So we will come back with the introduction at the August meeting. It then goes back to the Planning Board for the review, and then would come back. There'll be actually a Planning Board meeting in between, so it would be right back to our September meeting.
And you did receive tonight a copy of the ordinance as it now stands, so you can just compare. Very few changes, but it makes a difference for the businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, ordinance for hearing. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Okay, the ordinance scheduled for hearing was introduced by title and passed at the regular meeting of council held on Monday, July the 10th, was posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public requesting same.
I call up Ordinance 31-2017 for second reading and ask the clerk to read said ordinance by title.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Ordinance 21-2017 appropriating $20,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for an emergency backup generator at the Midwood water tank to increase the appropriation from $20,000 to $26,000.
I open the hearing. Anyone wishing in the public to comment on this ordinance, please step forward, state your name, your address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anyone wishing to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 31-2017.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 31-2017 adopted and finally passed, and I ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. All right, now we are on to the second invitation for discussion. This is when you may speak on any topic. Guidelines, again, and also a reminder for those that are new, and I also add some guidelines for when we have a larger crowd and action in the room. Is remember, as you come up, is state your name, your address, write the same on the clipboard, keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. I will give you a 3-minute warning, and then at 4 minutes you will be asked to step down. If someone in front of you says the perfect thing and you still want to be heard, you can go up and say your name. Bob Conley, 6 Britton Street. They just said the perfect thing. I'm supportive of just exactly what they said. You don't have to repeat the whole thing again if you want to keep it going. Also, the other guideline is if you hear things you like, nod your head and smile, but please hold the applause, because even though that sounds like a positive reaction and there's no jeering, what can happen is one person speaks and they hear applause, someone else speaks and they don't hear anything, and it's taken personally. So please just smile, nod your head. The council will be looking at the speaker and look at the audience. Will understand that you are in support. So, but please hold the applause. So anyone wishing to be heard with those guidelines, please step forward. And it's not just on the theater topic, but any topic. Terry?
So, Terry Romano, West Lane, Madison. Can you write that down? I have some handouts. Yes.
I'll take them.
Like, actually, give the clerk and.
And I'll make sure the council gets
A lot of stuff.
Right. I'll take them, Jim. That's all right.
So what I'm handing out is Florham Park's bamboo ordinance. There's a copy of T-Nex there. The announcement in the paper for Florham Park, and I did a little research. So. Oh, here we go.
Hey, you need to face the council, but use the mic. Sorry.
This thing's moving around.
It's very, very confusing in the government world.
So I need some clarification on the pending bamboo ordinance. I did some research, and on September 29th of 2016, according to the minutes from the Madison Environmental Commission, which you all have there, a draft ordinance was presented to Councilwoman Carmen Mella Vitale. So I checked the borough website, and it does not appear on any other agenda. So I ask you, Mayor, was it discussed?
I'm capturing the questions, so when you're done, we'll answer the question. So, yeah.
Well, I'm curious if it was discussed, because that is the second part of my...
Go ahead with the second part. Sorry.
Well, let me read the minutes from September 29th. A draft ordinance from Florham Park was received and needs adjusting to Madison's requirements and presented to Councilman Carmela Vitale to review. From our point of view, installation of new bamboo plots should be discouraged, and residents who have plots on their property should be responsible for the removal of encroaching bamboo from their neighbor's property. Review of the draft ordinance was proposed. So, was that discussed?
As I said, when you finish your comments, we will answer questions.
Well, I guess I'm wondering if it was discussed without public discussion, because I received an email from Stephen Stalker saying that, and he is not sure how bamboo is a health issue, because the MEC had put together the resolution and about bamboo, but the Borough Council wanted no part of it, as if to say they do not wish to be invading personal space and property rights. Someone from Sustainable Madison will be attending the health department meeting, and I will be informed as to what was decided, but I hold no great expectations on this issue. And that was his response to my email describing my situation. And then Marilyn Wuzliski from Academy Street, who's not present, also sent me an email saying that she was told that the ordinance was turned down by the council. So I ask you once again, was this ever discussed?
Are you finished with your comments?
Almost.
Okay, finish the comments, and we're at the 3-minute mark. So you have 1 minute.
So I guess, was it ever discussed publicly? And if not, why wasn't there a public discussion? Maybe it was discussed in a work session or executive. But I had New Jersey Bamboo come out to my property today, and I received an estimate for the removal of the bamboo that is encroaching on my property from my backyard neighbor who sits on the planning board and is the liaison for the Madison Environmental Commission, who planted this invasive species, and to have it removed in a containment barrier bin, I have a bill here for $4,700. So, as you said earlier, we need to be good stewards of nature and teach not only our children, but also our neighbors about damaging invasive species and how they impact our neighborhoods. And just one more item, that
you're at the 4 minutes.
Invasive species has been banned in New York, the whole state of New York, the whole state of Connecticut. Florham Park has an ordinance, Teaneck has an ordinance, Livingston and Maplewood have one pending.
Thank you very much, Terry. So, please hold applause. Thank you. Matt, if you could talk to us to why it's going to the Board of Health and.
Jim.
I can talk to it.
Okay,
so, property maintenance is done by the Board of Health and by the Health Department. So those regulations reside within that board, so it's appropriate for them to look at it. I had a conversation last week with the president of the Board of Health, Eric Range. They're actively looking into not just bamboo, but not trying to pick on bamboo, but going to look at all invasive species. And they're looking at ordinance amendments, and we'll be coming back to council shortly with suggestions. And actually, they have the right to actually vote on the ordinance there and change it and change the property code right at that board.
Yeah.
And that's enforceable just as if it came through council, but it's consistent with Madison.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You didn't answer my question.
It did not come for council discussion. So thank you.
So how does
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jean Scher. I live at 32 Kitchell Road. I didn't come.
Speak up a little bit. Sorry, Jean.
I'm sorry. Jean Scher, 32 Kitchell Road. I didn't come prepared to talk about bamboo. I actually came here to support the theater. But bamboo is something that I've been planning to come here after I do all my research and have it all on boards for you. I have a neighbor who has 700 feet of bamboo in the perimeter around their yard. 700 feet. And about 6 feet wide, and it comes into our yard. We've spent about $7,000 in the last 7 years. It's come up through our driveway. Every year we have our landscaper, 350 feet, build ditches, and the ditches get washed out. So every year the ditch has to be remade and pull out the bamboo shoots that are coming into my yard and my driveway. So this is a really serious issue. And, we've gone to the neighbor, we've talked to the neighbor. It hasn't gone well. We've contacted Madison. They've also told us to go to the Board of Health. A young woman came, looked at the bamboo, knocked at the door of my neighbor. The neighbor wouldn't do anything about it, and she left, and so she said she couldn't do anything about it. It comes into our yard, it hangs down. If you drive by my house right now, if you saw it, you would be shocked at the bamboo. It's coming into the road. It hangs down. It grows about 20 feet in about 4 months, period. 20 feet tall. it's like you can see it growing. And it grows in my yard, and I can bring it in. I've been keeping it for you guys, bring in the shoots and all the, I can't think of the what is it? Rhinestones that come through my yard. Okay, so it's a very serious topic, and it's a shame that there are so many people out there that are just at the whim of their neighbors who grow it without care of their neighbors. So I'll be back.
Thank you.
I'll make this quick.
Hold on just a second, Sam. Just one. We'll make sure that we'll share these comments with the Board of Health, so they're
take them all down.
Okay, so we're taking notes. The clerk will ensure that these comments related to bamboo do get over to the Board of Health.
Make 3 real quick points, Mayor.
Name and address.
Sam Romano, 29 West Lane, Madison. Quickly. 1, it's obviously a bigger deal than my backyard. You heard the emotion in Jean's voice, and that was very moving and very powerful. Number 2, if it's big enough for New York State and big enough for Connecticut, it's big enough for Madison. Number 3, it came here in front of you guys from the sound of this, and you didn't think it was important. I think you need to revisit that thinking. And from what was in that email, the reason why you didn't do anything about it was because you felt it was impacting the person's property. And I think you got it wrong. Mayor Connolly, if I'm your backyard neighbor and I'm blasting music on my deck, at some point I'm going to violate an ordinance and I'm going to be told to turn my music down. I turn my music down not because what's happening on my deck, but what's happening on your deck. And just as my music shouldn't flood your yard, somebody else's invasive species shouldn't flood mine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hold it. Thank you. Yep, go. Name and address and...
Good evening. My name is Pierre Sapino. I currently live in Keene University in Union. I came to talk to you tonight about, and I'm glad it's a passionate crowd tonight, about a passionate issue for myself also. As we are gearing for the summer, actually the summer is peak, where we have international high school students coming all over the place in New Jersey for the past 5 years. They come here to improve their English and learn more about the American culture, and it's been 5 years running. It's been very successful. It's actually so successful this year that we are struggling to find the last homes for the students, and we have many host families here in Madison. So I thought I would stop by tonight and see if Mr. Mayor or the council or the city can help us close those last homes for those students. We have about 30 students left to place, and they're coming next Thursday and Friday for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. So anything that public relationship can help us do would be greatly awesome. And since I have 3 minutes, maybe with such a big audience, some people might be interested. You would just get them during the evenings and the weekends because they're busy with us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with English classes and activities. It's an ideal program, which I did myself, as you can hear from my accent. I'm not from around here. I thought you guys came here to hear my accent, but I guess I learned now why you were here. And I'm glad also that we can be passionate about so many issues. It's ideal, like I was saying, for empty nesters. If you have a free room, why not put a student there? French are lovely. We have kids from France, Hong Kong, Russia, and China coming over. If you have kids, it's the perfect means to expose them to a different culture. And if you don't, it's also a very convenient way of bringing the world home and learn about each other, not just on TV. Or so if you see the news nowadays, they're not very bright or colorful. So it's really an amazing program to open minds. And I wish that everybody in the audience would come and see me after, and we can sign you up. Thank you very much.
So did you sign in there? Did you sign your name on the clipboard?
Oh, should I sign here?
Name and address. Yeah, we can't really help directly, but you came the right night, so maybe someone might be talking to you.
I was hoping to sign you up.
Thank you.
A French kid? No? Yes? You're thinking about it now. And if you have bamboo issues, you just use the students to take the bamboos. They're here for 3 or 4 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron? Here we go.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ron Hendrickson. I live at 119 Green Avenue. And there's 2 topics I want to mention today. One was on the smart metering. I think that as we think about building technology in our community, enforcing STEM and trying to link community with modern technology, it's really critical for us. And so I think there's a couple ways that we can do that. One way is that we can put the rates on our electric bill, and we can put the proper units on our electric bill. So those of you paying attention, there's no units on our electric bill, and the rates aren't there. So please do that. And then I think also for the smart metering, I was here about a year ago when the budget was proposed by a consultant, and they were unclear whether it was going to be a $1 or $3 million project, and I was a bit concerned because you wouldn't start something if you didn't know if it was $1 million or $3 million. So tells me you need to study a little bit more. So I'm glad to hear it started. But there's really 4 main technologies that one needs to look for in terms of smart metering. One is copper. The second one is radio. The third is Wi-Fi. And the fourth is LTE. So those of us in our community this summer have noticed that PSE&G have really pulled up our streets, and they're putting in smart meters. So we should think about what they're doing, if it's a capital cost or if it's an ongoing expense that you'd have to pay. So I'd love to look into that a little bit more detail. But the real reason I spoke up is that I wanted to comment on the Madison movie theater. So I've raised 4 children here in Madison, and some of my favorite memories are riding my bicycles, our bicycles downtown with my kids, locking those up, having lunch, going to the movie theater, and then we also had ice cream or yogurt afterwards. And it saddens me to think that the next generation of people coming to Madison won't be able to experience that. So I applaud those who are working together to build value for our community and improve the community for everyone. And I just wanted to read something from a Madison ordinance that I think all of you are aware of. And Carmela Vitale and Rob Conley Mayor Conley are both the liaisons to the Madison Historic District. And that is, when an applicant seeks demolition of a building, and this is from the Madison statutes, I believe, when a Madison seeks demolition of a building within the Historic District by applying for demolition permit from the Borough, the Historic Preservation Committee will be required to issue a certificate of historic review. Now, this is really important. The Historic Preservation Committee may, in circumstances of planned demolition, place conditions upon the demolition or upon the subsequent construction to take place on the site of the demolished building. These conditions are to be binding upon the applicant. It is the intent of the ordinance to thereby regulate the exterior appearance of new construction so that it remains compatible with the other existing structures within the historic district. Now, this is a Madison ordinance. If someone proceeds without certificate of historic review, they will be notified by the zoning officer to immediately seek a review. If historic
1 minute, Ron.
I need to finish this, Mayor. I think it's very important to all of us in this room. If the Historic Preservation Committee review is neglected in the case of the demolition, the applicant will be required to pay fines according to the zoning ordinance of the borough and may be required to return the building to its appearance before the unauthorized work. I just want to mention that to my other co-citizens of Madison. And as we think about technology, people reserve seats to a theater in advance. Now, the theater needs to be updated. And we also need to think that 1 hour parking in front of a 2-hour movie doesn't encourage business to do well in Madison. So those are my comments.
Thank you very much. It's just a minor thing, but one of the things about speaking to mayor and council is the comments should be directed to the mayor and council, because that's...
Hello, Mayor. Hello, Council.
Thank you.
I direct my comments to you. Last time I was here...
Name and address.
Oh, sorry. Pippa Almond, 85 Ridgedale Avenue. There was a large discussion about the walkability of Madison and the need to improve the business district and revitalize it. There's also been a lot of discussion, as you know, about the complex on Kings Road, and in the former Green Village School, and how that is larger than many people anticipated and will not provide a lot of services, but will be mostly condos. And the tax, not financial, but sort of infrastructure tax that's going to cost Madison. It seems to me incredibly sad that the next 2 months later, we lose something that brought vitality to downtown, that brought people out on the streets, that appealed to everyone, whether it be old, young, single, couples with children, whatever. And so I understand that it's a private sale. Mr. Borough Attorney, I'm an attorney too. I get that you don't want to say things on the record, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that the inalienability of property is a fundamental right. However, I guess I have two comments, and that is one, going forward, I think that it would be great if you all could tell us, the citizenry, how we could have intervened earlier. So we knew that there was a sale going on. I'm not sure people understood that it would not be a movie theater. And maybe there's a way you could have intervened earlier on. And also advise us, whether it's through official channels or not, how we can make sure that that movie theater or a similar type of site remains in Madison. I echo everyone else who's spoken on this who says that drove downtown commerce in ways that perhaps were not evident to the naked eye. It is a huge loss, I think, to Madison, to the town culture, to families, to single people, and to, most importantly, the local businesses who really depended on it.
Thank you very much. And so Sandy, Woody, and Jim, when get together, I think those are some good things to talk about.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Claudine Berti. I'm at 26 South Street. I'd like to address the Council to seek a resolution to a particularly acute issue of commercial parking on my street, which is South Street. The commercial parking in question is a DeFalco towing truck that's been parking on South Street from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning for about 3 to 4 weeks. I've contacted DeFalco, and it was advised that their overnight driver lives on my street. And because he can't park it in his driveway, he parks it in front of my house that has a long stretch. I live near the corner, so there's a long stretch of unobstructed parking. It is the only vehicle on the street in the evenings because there is no residential or commercial parking after 2 a.m., and most people park their cars in their driveways. I contacted the Madison PD. They were nice enough to come out, and they said there's no ordinance against them parking up until 2 a.m. in the morning. After 2 a.m., they call and they get permission from the police department to keep the car there overnight. In the last day or so, I haven't seen the vehicle, so I'm assuming that there's been some conversations with the PD and DeFalco, but I did want to address it as a more long-term issue because I don't want to have to police whether this vehicle is going to be in front of my house at 6 p.m. every night. I live in a very beautiful neighborhood. There's unobstructed views of trees and kids play in the street. They ride their bikes in the evenings now. And it's marring the landscape of our community and of our street. And considering the ordinance that you had just spoken about regarding Union Street parking and limiting the hours of parking on the streets, what I wanted to know about was what kind of recourse do I have as a resident of South Street to empower myself and my neighbors to preserve the beauty of my street. I'd like to also add about the movie theater. I came to Madison from New York, and the first thing we did, we got off the train, we saw the movie theater, and we thought, aha. And we sat and we met with a realtor, and then we had dinner at Tacoma, and we watched kids, teenagers, walking back and forth from the movie theater to Romanelli's, who actually, I purchased my house from Romanelli, actually. Walking back and forth, and there was just this kind of other. It was like another era. And my husband and I looked at it. We had 2 kids. We have 2 kids, and we said, "This is the place. This is kind of where we want to be." And now my son is 12, and finally has permission to go to the movie theater by himself with his friends, and it's closed. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Jim, so we'll follow through with police chief, and certainly the calling in for overnight parking is not intended to be a constant. It should be an exception, certainly not the rule. So we will make sure that that is understood, and we will work on that quality of life issue for you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor Conley and members of the council. My name is Tyler Oborn. I'm at 33 West Mill Road in Long Valley. I've come a long way tonight to talk to you about something that's very passionate to me and to a young man that I'm here with from your town, Jared Cummings. I serve as the Director of Public Affairs for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons, for the 9 congregations in the northwest part of the state, including the town of Morristown and the congregation here in Madison. One of the things that we're known for is our missionary program. At the age of 18 or 19 up to early 20s, young men and women serve 2 years or 18 months of their time dedicated to full-time missionary work, where they serve in a number of hundreds of countries around the world. There's 70,000 missionaries right now that are out doing this full-time. And while they're out serving as a missionary, the men are known as elders and the women as sisters. And then they return and pick up their normal life wherever they left off. Part of the things that they do as missionaries is they teach the gospel, the tenets of our faith. They do humanitarian work or service in the community and spend time with members of our church. This is the voluntary work where they pay for their way. This is not something they get paid to do. And I think they find that it's a valuable experience that helps them for the rest of their lives. And so, unfortunately, Jared and his family are moving soon, but I wanted him to come and address you and just kind of basically take a few minutes to tell you about his experience and what it meant for him coming from Madison and going to, he spent 2 years in California. So I'd like to have Jared just kind of briefly tell you about that, but I wanted to set some context for you.
My name is Jared Cummings. I live at 302 Woodland Road until Thursday. We're sadly moving to Texas. But I attended Madison High School. I graduated from there in 2015. I consider myself very fortunate to have spent formative years of my life in a community that values education. And I would like to formally thank the mayor and the city council for being part of that process. Education is not the only thing that helps to form our thoughts and our identities. Religion in my life has been influential as well. That is a major reason why I chose to serve a mission. Since graduating high school, I've spent almost all of that 2 years, except for the last couple of weeks, in Fresno, California, and the surrounding towns, working with a refugee community there, the Hmong people. They fought with the Americans in Vietnam, and following the war, they fled a genocide and came here to the States, many of them. I lived among them. I became assimilated into their culture. I learned their language. I can now communicate with about 400,000 people who speak the same rare dialect as me. Experiences that I didn't have growing up here in Madison. It was eye-opening to me to see the effect of this people, to see the effect on the culture of this people as they came to this country, a country that has freedoms protected by law. Vietnam didn't have the same for generations. Thousands of years in their history, they had been an oppressed people. And seeing the changes in ideas and concepts and the ways that they live as they've come to the United States, become more integrated in a society that values freedom of religion, freedom of expression of speech, rights to own property. It moved me to see that. It's a recent thing in that community that women have a voice, that children are educated, and I'm grateful that I was able to be a part of that, and I'm grateful that Madison is a town that supports these kinds of things. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good evening, Council. My comments tonight are going to be a little different than others, and a little different than you've heard from me in the past.
And name and address again, Kath.
Well, Kathy Daly, West End Avenue. The comments I'm going to read to you tonight are actually comments prepared by my family around the dinner table tonight. And while they kind of were generated by thoughts about the movie theater, it's just in general some statements about Madison. Madison is a beautiful town. Its downtown is quaint and charming. We have great amenities in and around town and lots of open green spaces. All these attributes and features draw people to our town to visit, to shop, and to raise their families. Zoning laws and borough policies should aim to preserve the unique and desirable character of our town, the varied amenities and charm that attracts people here in the first place. While we realize that lots of people want to move here to Madison and share in all the wonders that we have to offer here, if we continue to allow our open spaces and local landmarks to be built over with more and more multiple dwelling unit structures to accommodate all the would-be Madisonians of this world, the Madison that we all know and love, the special character that draws all these people to our town in the first place, will disappear. Let's do what we can now to keep Madison on the right track for the future. So again, that's from the Daly family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Terry, I'm sorry, can't comment a second time. No.
I'm Amy Chase, 43 Niles Avenue. And I did want to say, right now my daughter is at the East Hanover Theater with her 3 teenage friends. She would rather be in Madison, and I would rather have her here at our theater as well. I wanted to tell you, I wanted to show support. I am not a visionary type and kind of don't have a lot of hope. But I was thinking about how our local independent bookstore seems to be doing really well. And that is another business that people say nowadays it's pretty much impossible to be an independent bookstore because of the big bookstores, and Amazon has driven them all out of business. And I'm like, if that business can do it, then it does say to me that there is a reason not to be negative and to really try. And so for those who you will be interacting with who are trying to drive this effort, I do really hope that you'll try and have a positive attitude and try and make it happen, because I think it is possible.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, and hello, Council. My name is Catherine Kurelko, and I live in 156 Whippany Road in Whippany. However, I'm here to talk about my employer, Marcy Lippman, who lives at 32C Community Place in Madison. And she and I were astounded to discover that the Madison Theater had closed. And her being physically handicapped, she cannot drive herself to many locations. She can't drive at all. She needs my assistance to go from place to place. She really enjoyed being able to go to the theater and spend quality time with friends and companions that lived throughout Madison. She could get herself there, and it was a form of pride that she held, that she could bring herself to some form of enjoyment without having to rely on anyone else, that she could enjoy something as marvelous as something that seems so simple to us as going to a movie. And I wanted to bring this to the attention of the council because she and I were devastated, not only for the historical benefits, but for the opportunities that it provided the handicapped residents of Madison to have such an establishment here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to be heard? We got one, yep.
Dorothy O'Brien, 38 Crestwood Drive. I wasn't sure if this is the time, if you're going to call people to speak for the theater separately or just come up now at this point. Well, anyway, I'm a lifelong resident of Madison, and the Madison Theater, obviously, it brings a lot of business to town. When people are coming to visit, or when I'm thinking about when I go to a movie, because I go quite often, if I'm going to a movie with friends in town, we pick a restaurant that's in town because it's walking distance. And it's the same for the Roberts Theater in Chatham and all the other theaters in the area. As far as the proposal for the town to hopefully purchase the building, I think it absolutely would become self-sustaining as far as monies that it would eventually bring in, similar to MPAC in Morristown, a not-for-profit theater that the town was able to save. And I've actually even heard from people who were working at the theater, actually the opposite story about how the lease was ended. That it was not so much that that the bow-tie theaters gave 24 hours notice, but it was the other way around. The real estate company gave them 24-hour notice to vacate. So, again, the town does not need any more condos. Obviously, they would sell quite quickly, being right across the street from the train station. But I think the town truly needs to be more concerned with helping businesses in town, and less concerned about, bringing in more taxable real estate.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Joe.
Mayor, Council, Joe Balvierchuk, 5 Beach Avenue, Madison. Just something completely different. I was reading in the paper about the helipad that's being built, that's been approved for Florham Park. It's right near my neighborhood. And I see that the town reported in the Newark Star Ledger that the town was contesting the application. And there was a petition, a number of people signed it, opposing the construction of this helipad because the airport is just a 2-mile drive away, and this is very close to our neighborhood. So I'd like to thank the council and for the administration for their efforts in looking into this matter and contesting it. Unfortunately, as we all know, it was approved. And I'm just going to say that our neighborhood, the Oak Knoll neighborhood of Beach, Rose, Pine, Park, and Cedar will be putting a petition together, and we'll be sending it to the NFL commissioner in New York, saying that this is disrespectful of the wishes of the neighborhood, which has opposed this, and that they didn't go through any public hearing on this. So I'd like to thank the council for their efforts, and just to let you know that we are in our neighborhood are going to actively pursue opposing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
Richard Zipper, 197 Greenwood Avenue. Regarding the helicopter landing pad, I'd like to express my displeasure with the one-sentence answer given last week, or last meeting, when a citizen came up and asked about the helipad. The answer was, we won't comment because of possible litigation. There were a lot of things that could have been said, like where the helipad is, what it will be doing, and the fact that 2 weeks ago, we were in the middle of a 1-month public comment period, which I only found out about by reading the paper after the 1-month public comment period was over. So when the council was asked about it, there was no mention of this public comment period. If it had been mentioned, possibly a lot of people in Madison could have made a comment publicly on the whatever they did. I guess they did it on the website or something. It was written comments only at that time for 1 month, and there was no public hearing. So that's it. I mean, we could have done something, but we weren't informed of the public 1 month public comment period. Thank you.
I'll have Attorney Richard. Thank you for your comments, and I feel your frustration about sometimes we have our hands tied. Matt, if you could.
So the public's aware, the governing body directed my office to file opposition to the helipad. The helipad doesn't go before a planning board or a zoning board. It's regulated by the Department of Transportation in the state of New Jersey. The application was filed. We served OPA requests on the Department of Transportation. Interestingly, they haven't fully complied with the OPA requests. We're still getting documents today, despite the fact that the public comment period ended. The public comment period, your filing was due on July the 3rd, 2017. We faxed it to them on July the 3rd, 2017, and hand-delivered to them on July the 5th, 2017. They accepted it. Why did we have to fax to them on July 3rd, 2017? Because the New Jersey Department of Transportation was closed due to government shutdown. But we got it there. My office did not shut down, so we got it in there. We went down, reviewed the entire application, showed all the deficiencies, etc., and opposed it. The process is it's the Department of Transportation that makes that determination. We are right now still obtaining additional documents through an OPA request. We have now gotten documents that they did not produce during the initial public review. We're going to be analyzing those and advising the council in closed session at possible next steps. Folks do have the right to go to your different legislatures, go to various towns, go to the Florham Park Town Council, etc. But this council, and this governing body, and this mayor did direct us, and on behalf of the citizens of Madison and the folks that live in that neighborhood, we filed, I think it was about an 80-page opposition, pointing out all the different deficiencies in the application that was shared with us by the Department of Transportation. So on the August 14th, we will make you informed of what other documents we discover that were not produced, and keep you informed of what the process is. The process at this point is if the Department of Transportation grants an application, it doesn't come back before this governing body at all. If there's going to be a challenge, you go to the New Jersey Appellate Division. So if there's any other challenge, that's where it would go. I know there are residents in Florham Park who have also circulated a petition challenging this helipad application.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward.
Hello, Luke Schussler, 17 Stafford Drive. And I know it's been brought up many times throughout this meeting tonight, but I'd just like to reinforce the point about preserving the historic movie theater. When I first heard the news that the movie theater had been closed and that it was no longer, it had been bought out, I myself was devastated just because of how much it meant to me. But the people around me as well were devastated. I reached out on social media, and for many, this was the first time they had heard about the news. And from each reply I got from many different people my age, everyone was sad about this news. The movie theater meant a lot to the youth of this town, and it meant a lot to everyone. It was a pivotal point of downtown. It brought business everywhere. People could go together. They could spend time together at the movie theater. They could go to Romanelli's. They would go to different businesses. And overall, it benefited the town as a whole. And I just thought I could reinstate that and offer a point of view from someone who went there almost every week. It meant a lot to me, and I think I speak for the younger generation on this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
Hello, Dennis Collins, 16 Crescent Road. So greetings, Mayor and the Council. I don't have anything prepared, but I would like to bring up this issue because I would like my voice to be heard about something that's really sad to see. Such a historical building to just go away like that. It's been here since 1925, and that's where I saw my first movie, where my parents saw their first movie. And it was just that it was so close to everyone's home. Instead of going all the way to East Hanover or Morristown, you could just walk right there. I know my friends, we were all going to go there, but it was closed. So we had to go to East Hanover, but then we had issues with rides. But with the Madison Theater, everyone could walk there, and it would help businesses because people would go to Romanelli's, McCool's, like as everybody has said. It was helping other businesses. It's a necessity to have in our town. It helped our town to have something unique like that instead of another bank or another restaurant. It was something important that we should really keep and put into consideration. And I think we need to take full force into trying to save such a historical building and such a great thing to see. I always love seeing the movies there. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I will go on record to say that I have made exceptions for well-spoken under 18-year-olds that come up, so I won't admonish you for your applause.
Elise Hart, 18 West End Ave. I'm just here to show my support in the borough buying out the movie theater. It's really important to the youth and to people with physical disabilities, and it's really important to everyone in this town, not just the youth, the adults, and I think that a lot of people came out to show their support for it, and that it's really important that we try and preserve its historical charm.
Thank you, Elise. It's tough acts to follow, but does anyone else wish to comment? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and just I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It is, no matter what, this is the one topic is something that means a lot to the residents of Madison. Jim will be following up with Woody and Sandy and arranging the meeting and next steps. Also, for those that spoke on the bamboo, we will continue to work with the Board of Health to make sure that it moves forward one way or another. We get an answer as to what the next steps are in that area. And I want to thank everyone for coming out in a July evening. It's, as I said, the biggest summer crowd we've had in quite a while. But we still have more to come, so please stay as we wrap up the last couple agenda items. As I find my... All right, we're on to introduction to ordinance. Will the clerk please read the statement? And by the way, if you are walking out, since business is continuing, please try to keep the conversation quiet out in the hallway because it's a great building but echoes for a while.
All right. Okay, the ordinance scheduled for first reading has a hearing date set for August the 14th, 2017. It will be posted. It will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members public requesting copies.
I call up ordinance for first reading and ask the clerk to read said ordinances by title.
Ordinance 32, 2017, ordinance of the Borough of Madison rescinding a portion of Ordinance 4484, amending Chapter 185-32 entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Borough Code to rescind the 2-hour parking on Union Avenue.
Mayor, I move ordinance 32-2017.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Right. Consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move consent agenda resolution 204-2017 to resolution 212-2017.
I'll second it.
Any discussion or any resolutions that need to be pulled? Roll call vote.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
There is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers.
The current fund, $3,574,110.62. General capital fund, $108,475.34. Electric operating fund, $827,154.52. Water operating fund, $36,575.16. Trust, $769.35. The total is $4,593,084.99.
Mayor, I move the approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
All right, under new business, I'd like to make the following appointment to the planning board, which is does not require council consensus. Rachel Ehrlich of 252 Kings Road for the 3-year unexpired term through December 31st, 2017. This is term of Mike Kopis. And we're on to number 21.
And I move we adjourn.
Second. In favor. Thank you all.
Back is it?
Including how long it is.
Oh, God.
It's not my job to